Good evening, and welcome to another segment with the National Council of Negro Women. I'm Alice Paper, your host for this evening, along with Pat Blewett, our section corresponding secretary. And our guest this evening is Keena Minifield, and she is with the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania Voter Project. Welcome, Keena. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. We're so glad to have you with us this evening.
Thank you.
And I know you have a lot of information that you're going to share with us about voting and how important it is to vote in this election. But first, I want you to just explain to the audience a little bit about what is the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania and what is your role in that organization?
Sure. So my name is Keena Minifield. I'm the Housing and Civic Engagement Fellow at the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania. The Housing Alliance is an organization, a nonprofit organization, based out of Jenkinstown, Pennsylvania. And our vision is to provide, or seek out affordable, safe, and decent housing for all Pennsylvanians. We promote common sense solutions to balance Pennsylvania's housing market and increase the supply of safe and decent homes, especially for lower income people.
Okay, and I understand that this year the organization has gotten involved with the Pennsylvania Voters Project to help get the vote out in Pennsylvania. Can you explain a little bit about how that works?
Yes. So we are, this year, we are a state anchor for the PA Votes Initiative. It's our first year doing it, and we're so excited to be a part of this. With this, we are working with 23 other organizations, such as yours, to reach populations that have historically been suppressed with voting. So we are trying to reach out to lower income, homeless, formerly homeless, but have opened it to allow everybody to get out the vote, especially in a time like this. So, yeah, we got involved with that just so we can, engage. Get voter engagement up. So
I know the NCNW, we've gotten involved and we've committed to get a certain number of participants registered to vote. Before we get into the voting, I'm curious about you're a Housing and Civic Engagement Fellow. What is that? And
my position, I'm like brand spanking new at the Housing Alliance. I've been here for about a month now, and so my position was specifically open to for this PA Votes Initiative. I am one of the point contact people for this initiative, and and I'm working on another project too with the Housing Alliance. So.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Now, this is Pat Blewett. From time to time, our viewers may want to check the bottom of the screen because it's showing where they can go to register to vote online.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's what is that something that you all are doing also, helping people get registered to vote?
Yes. So each of our partner sites has their very own special link. You guys are using yours beautifully at the bottom of the screen here, where voter contacts can go to register, they can apply for mail-in ballots, and they can check their registration. To see if they're already registered to vote, and if they are, they can go right on ahead and get an election reminder straight from the site. So
Now, when is the deadline for registration?
Let's see. The deadline registration deadline. Just kidding. Is October 19th. The last day to apply for mail-in ballot or absentee ballot is October 27th.
Mhm.
And so voted mail-in and absentee ballots must be received by the county election office by 8 p.m. on November 3rd. So postmark is not good enough. It's got to be there before that time.
So if it's postmarked, because the mail is running slow now. So even if it's postmarked before that deadline and it gets there late, it's not going to be counted. Is that correct?
Yeah, unfortunately, it won't be counted. But if we are encouraging you to, if you're going to vote by mail, to do it as soon as possible. Don't leave it laying around on your kitchen table or anything. Like, go out and get that in as soon as possible, so you won't have to have that concern.
Well, is there a way to track your ballot once you mail it in? Is there a way to find out when it was received or that it was received on time?
Let's see. I know that
Because I know one of the things that's happening with the mail, even in the area where I lived, I normally used to get my mail like around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. Now I don't get my mail until 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. So even if it's postmarked before the deadline and it gets there the day after the deadline, you're saying it's not going to be counted?
Well, so in case you're,
May I add something to that? The best thing to do is, we know that there's a problem with the mail. So what we need to do is make sure that we get those ballots in prior to the deadline date. Don't wait till November 3rd. I mean, you send it out as soon as you get it done. And you can track it, because on the form that you fill out, there will be a number, and you take that, you keep a copy of it, and you send it in, and you can always call the election bureau to find out if yours has been received.
If it was received.
Yes.
Okay. That's good information to know. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and when you apply for a mail-in or absentee ballot, if you include your email address, you'll receive updates about your ballot being accepted, when your ballot's being mailed, and confirming your voted ballot was received.
Is there a difference between a mail-in ballot and an absentee? What's the difference?
Yes, the difference between an absentee and a mail-in ballot is an absentee, you have to have a reason that you aren't voting, that you aren't voting in person. And for a mail-in ballot, you don't need a reason at all. You can just vote by mail.
Okay. And and I know it's very important, if you can talk a little bit about the importance of everybody making an exerted effort to vote in this election.
Yes, especially during a time like this. It's so important for everybody to get out and vote. I mean, our ancestors and people before us have died for the right to vote, and I feel like it's only best if we go out and make our voices heard, and know that our voices count. So
now I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about the Act 77 reform. Are you familiar with that? If you could talk a little bit, explain what that's about.
Yeah, so this is like one of the most significant changes that's happened to voting in Pennsylvania. So like, I know that Pennsylvania election laws were updated last year, and these changes marked, the most significant, happenings, which is that anybody can do a mail-in ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So any registered voter can now, request a mail-in ballot without being required to provide an excuse or reason. So, yeah. So it is, as a result of, the pandemic, this year's primary, marked the first time, that more voters opted for mail-in balloting than in person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really, really significant change.
So in order to get a mail-in ballot, all you need to do is just call the Election Bureau of Election, and ask for a mail-in ballot. What's the process to get one, and what is the deadline to request one?
There's multiple ways that you can get a mail-in ballot. You can go online and print. If you don't have access to a printer, you can go to a library or any community center, print one out, and you know that if you request one through like the Department of State website, or they are still covering postage to send those back.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can, I'm sure, go in person to your county election office to request those. So there's multiple ways that you can get a mail-in ballot.
Okay. Now, how has what has been the impact on the virus, the COVID-19, on voter registration, and how do you think that's going to impact the vote on election day?
I know that this whole COVID thing has dramatically increased the request of mail-in and absentee ballots, and it was an issue before where people were worried about consolidation of the polls and everybody being gathered in a big area.
Mm-hmm.
And so there hasn't been anything passed on that yet. So there's nothing stating that they're going to consolidate polls in Pennsylvania. So there should be a good, everybody should be good to go in person if you really want to or need to go in person. It's totally fine. You can call your county election office and ask them what their protocols they have in place to keep voters safe.
Well, one of the things that happened the last election, the primary, and the smaller communities, they did consolidate the polls, and they had one voting place for the entire community. So a lot of our seniors and people with disabilities were not able to get into the polls because particularly like here in Homestead, the community that I live in, the polling place was a good distance from our senior citizen, where the senior citizens live. So they had a very difficult time, and some of them were not able to vote because they couldn't make it up to the polls. So are you saying that they're not going to consolidate the polls for November?
Yes, there's nothing that's been said about consolidating for the general election.
Can I add something? May I add something?
Yes.
One of the problems that they're having now is getting poll workers. So in order to open up more polls, they have to have people that are willing to come out. And it's not a difficult program to do. You come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, you set up your polling station, and then you're done at 8 o'clock in the evening. Basically, they pay you $115 to $140, depending on what your role is. Mm-hmm. So right now, if people need to get in touch with the Election Bureau and let them know that they are willing to come out and become a poll worker. And they do have a training so that you're not just going in there blindly. You get to find out exactly what your role is and how to work the equipment and what's expected.
So they can call their down to the Allegheny County Bureau of Elections.
Or if they want, they can also get in touch. Yes, call there. But if you're really not sure who to call, find out who the representatives are in your area and let them know, and they will make those contacts for you.
Okay, that's good to know, because it was really bad for the primaries here in Homestead.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people did not vote. We lost a lot of votes because a lot of people didn't know where the polling place was at, because they didn't advertise it. They didn't put notices out where you're going to vote, because in the past each ward had their own polling place. So hopefully they're not going to do that. You're saying, Keena, they're not doing it in November.
Yeah, there's nothing that has been passed about that yet, or talked about yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does the registration look like? What so far the involvement that your organization has had, how successful are you being, and what does it look like at this point? Because this is August. So we only have till October the 19th to get people registered. So what's it looking like for you, do you think?
Everything is looking pretty good. We just are up and running right now. I know that a lot of the places are still trying to work out really creative ways to engage their voters. And we've already had some sites give us some data. So our sites are great, and we are getting some good numbers.
Okay. Now, is it doable for school districts to have registration forms at the school? Because there are some seniors that will be graduating in May of next year, and they'll probably they may turn like 18. Some kids turn 18 while they're in school. So is it doable for the schools to have registration forms at the school and let the kids register when they turn 18? If they're still in school.
I'm not too sure about if schools can do that, but I know that a couple of our partner sites were looking to reach out to schools to. But
hold that thought, because we do have a caller on the line. We have Mark from the North Side. Good evening, Mark, and how are you? And what's your question for us today?
Okay.
Are you there, Mark?
Yes, I am. Hello. Good evening. How's everybody?
Everybody's great. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. I can barely hear you, so I'm going to make my comment real quick, and then I'll design. First of all, I wanted to say to Ms. Paylor and Ms. Blewett, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Timely show, because this is less day before the election, and this information is so crucial. And so let me say thank you so much to the NCNW for having the show. Secondly, I want to remind Ms. Manyfield, I have not had the pleasure, but I've been producing election information shows right here at PCTV probably for the last 20 years. And what I found out after doing my shows, when I would see people on the street, they would always tell me, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that it was that easy. Or one gentleman told me when I was showing them how to vote and to split your ballot if you wanted to split, he was in his 70s, and he said he never knew that he was allowed. So I only say that to say to you, in your travels, remind the voters, do not let the process intimidate them. We now, in Allegheny County here, we now have, in the state of Pennsylvania, most of the machines are touchstone, so they're computerized, and a lot of people are fearful of that. And so you have to find a way to do a couple things. Make them at ease about the technology, number one, and remind them that if they have to go out to the voting place, that they can't rush you in and out. You're allowed to simply take your time and to vote. And so I found out to be very good information to allow people to relax. And when they are able to do that, I also found out that they do ask questions. Final thing I wanted to mention is, in your travels, again, it might be helpful to let people know that when you get your ballot back in the mail, sometimes it looks a little confusing. But I would encourage them to immediately get on the phone and call the Elections Bureau and ask someone to walk you through the process. Or have, such as Ms. Medifield's organization, to just walk them through the process. Hey, open the envelope up, fill out the little section there for your name, flip the ballot over, read the small print that says you're only allowed to vote for one in this category, vote for one there, fold the ballot back up, put it in the new envelope, seal it, and then put it in the mail. And so sometimes when we repeat it and make people feel a little bit at ease, they're a little bit more easier to go through the process. So that's I just wanted to say it is a timely show. I'm hoping to do something myself again to constantly remind this is right. You can take your time. Every vote does matter. And this simply been here before in terms of mail-in ballots. We were fearful that somehow our ballots, were going to be tampered with, or somebody can get in and see how we voted or whatever. But we have to find a way to make folks a little more at ease. So I'm going to ask one quick question, and then I'll hang, and that's to Ms. Benifield. Can you tell me, in your travels, what's been the response of young people? Because they're constantly talking about the rumor and the streets are young people talk a lot of stuff, but it's the older vote. Mm-hmm. What's been your experiences out in the street? Are young people excited? Are they talking about voting? Are they getting involved? Thank you so much once again for a wonderful show. And I'll hang up the phone and listen if that's okay.
Very good. Thank you so much for your call, Mark.
Yeah, and to answer that question, a lot of young people, my gosh, like social media is like blowing up with young people getting out the vote. And it's a lot of younger people actually getting involved in politics and educating other people, getting out with their grandparents or their parents to vote. So I'd say that there is, especially now, a huge increase in young voter participation.
And one of the things that Mark touched on about the voting, I'm going back some years. I'm telling my age now, but there was a time when we started voting on the machines. The county used to let organizations, because the NAACP here in Homestead did it. They would bring out a machine, maybe about 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the election, and you could train people on the machine, how to vote, how to use the machine. Well, they stopped doing that. And the people that I see that have a problem with voting is the people who've never voted, first-time voters, and the elderly. So and I think that keeps, for particularly young people, that keeps them away from the coming to vote, because they've never used the machine before, and it's new to them, and they don't know how to do it.
Now, Alice, may I add something?
Yes.
When you come to the polls, if you are somewhat intimidated by the machines, talk to the poll workers. We will walk you through the steps of what you need to do, and then we will remove ourselves so you have a chance to vote in private.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you really need to talk to them. Just don't be intimidated.
Yeah, but they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it, and the other thing that I've seen too, I think a lot of seniors stay back because they feel like they're a bother.
Mm.
Yeah, I've seen that. So with that, we just have to keep encouraging people, like Mark said, to keep talking to them and keep encouraging them to come out and vote.
And one of the things I also want to add with the young people, especially those that are graduating, and we're worried about them not registering to vote.
Right.
What all of us that are giving out graduation cards and putting money in them, putting gifts, why don't we start putting a registration card in their envelope so that they also know that this is part of your civic responsibility. You are now an adult. You now have a voice. Use your voice wisely. Vote.
That's a good idea.
That's a really great idea.
That is.
Wow.
That's an excellent idea. Yeah. I'm going to remember that. Yeah. Yeah. So what is the myth there's about the mail-in ballot that people are so afraid to use it?
Especially with, there have been recently a lot of questions raised, about, voting by mail fraud. And Pennsylvania, believe it or not, has been using absentee and, mail-in ballots for a very long time.
So this is nothing new to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, no, this is nothing new. It has a verification. There's a verification process in place for ensuring that the correct individual receives a ballot, and when received, the ballot can come that their vote does not count twice. Like if they feel like they need to go to the polls because they are too afraid to go to have it mailed in. There's protocols in place that, their vote will only count, just once when everything gets tallied up. And so there's a significant number of, studies that have demonstrated that voting by mail is both safe and secure. So for the millions of ballots that have been cast by mail in the United States, the cases of fraud are really insignificant. The Brennan Law Center at NYU Law Schools says that it's still more likely for an American to be struck by lightning than to, commit mail voting fraud.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just to kind of put people at ease a little bit about the whole fraud thing.
Okay. So I know when we vote by machines, at the end of the night, when the polling place is shut down, we know how many people have voted. Mm-hmm. The mail-in ballots, when are they counted? That's what people are concerned about. When are they counted? And when will the public know how many votes was mailed in?
I am actually not sure about that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they're logged in or counted as they get them in the mail, or do they wait until the end of election day to start counting them? Because on the machines, like I said, at the end of the day, when you shut the polling place down, you can print them votes right off the machine, and you know how many people voted that day.
I have heard, don't, quote me, but I heard that as mail-in, like for the mail-in ballots, for that, they, I believe, are counting them as they're coming in.
I heard that same thing.
Okay. So then we'll still know at the end by 11 o'clock that night what the count is, or have a general idea of what the.
We did at this last election. We did. We knew by the end of the night they were proclaiming who had won in which district. So
Even with the mail-ins?
Obviously, yes, with the mail-ins also. But they gave an extension on the mail-ins last time because they did not.
They did, yeah.
It was an extension. But at the end of the night, they were proclaiming who was winning in which district. So.
Oh, okay. Because I think that's a big concern of people too. Is when will my vote be counted? Is it counted the same, or do they wait till the next day and count the mail-ins? Yeah. So what's the best? And Kina, what is the best approach when you're approaching someone who's not registered and they're hesitant about registering because they don't believe in the voting process? What is the best spiel to give them to encourage them to vote and convince them to register to vote?
I would say, hey, there's, your vote actually does count, believe it or not. And I know that, you've been really discouraged with everything that happens, and sometimes who you vote for may not win, but don't let that deter you. I feel like voter education is like a key. It's a huge part of this whole voter initiative. Like the more you know, the more confident you'll feel. And that's my thing, with the voter engagement, is to not let that person walk away still feeling confused. There's so many different resources out there that you can educate yourself. So I would just say to them, I encourage you to really, reach out to, anywhere you can, maybe Department of State or, anywhere like that to get, educated on voting and why it's so important.
Is your organization, are you getting a good response from people when you approach them about becoming registered to vote?
We are letting our partners mostly do on that. We will be reaching out for National Voter Registration Day on September 22nd. And we'll be, reaching out and on our social media to try to get people to vote. But so far, our partners have had good turnout with getting people registered and verified and all of that.
Do you think, because of this is such an important election this year, the presidential election, do you think Biden and Harris running will encourage people to get out and get registered and to get out and vote?
Yeah, I'm supposed to say nonpartisan, but I think that's a huge reason.
Okay.
Can I interrupt? We have a caller on the line.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
we have Deneen from Homestead.
Right.
Deneen, you're on the line. What's your question or comment?
Oh, okay. My question is, with the counting of the ballots, they say they're counting them. When they go into the county, who is responsible for counting them? And can we have, how they have like poll watchers or something? Is it people to go down there to, like me going up to the poll, the more just the majority player. I like to help count the mail-in ballots.
Well, I think you can. You can call the Allegheny County Board of Elections. I think it is.
Yeah.
And put your name down that you'd like to be a counter. They were advertised, and I saw it on the internet where you could go on the internet and sign up to be a counter.
Okay, because that's they wanted people to work.
They are looking for people to work the polls because there seems to be a shortage. And I think there's a major shortage because, first of all, for the pandemic, people are somewhat reluctant to come out in any place where there's
They are, yeah.
crowd.
Yeah,
But
they are.
secondly, when they dismantled the polls this last time, a lot of poll workers were left without anything to do. And they're beginning to call them and see if they can get them to come back. But if you know of someone who wants to work the poll, please tell them to do so. Call the Bureau of Elections so that they can have their name added to the list. Also, if you want to be a poll worker or to find out about a vote, being able to be there to count a vote, call the Bureau of Elections. That information they should have for you.
Yeah, because that's what I'm worried about. Who is actually counting those mail-in votes?
One of the things that we do have to do, though, as the National Council of Negro Women, some of the things that we are trying to do is reach those people who are not registered. And we're doing it in different ways. We're trying to go by the local establishments that are out there, the barber shops, the beauty salon, the grocery stores, and get the information into the hands of people that you can register. People who have recently been incarcerated or have something on their record that they are somewhat ashamed and they think they can't. Yes, you can. You're home. You can vote. We just need you to register so that your vote can be counted. And especially all those young people showing they have a voice. They're out there, in the streets, letting the world know that they want to be heard. This is a major way that you can be heard by registering to vote and voting on election day so that people, your vote counts. What you vote for, who you vote for, that counts. But the only way it can count is if you take the opportunity and go to the polls and vote or send in a mail-in ballot. Alex, we're having a difficult time hearing you right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, maybe that's something that the NCNW can look into because I've talked to several teenagers in the community who've asked me how can they get registered to vote because they've graduated high school and they've turned 18 and nobody has explained to them. That's why I said I think the schools could do it.
Well, most of the teenagers have a cell phone. They can actually get on their cell phone and register to vote by their cell phone.
But see, they don't know that.
Okay.
Nobody tells them that they can do that. They don't know that.
That's why these organizations are being put together and partnering with the Alliance so that we can get the information out there. Because like you said, people don't know.
They don't. They really don't.
And that's why we have to educate the people that are in our community that yes, there is an opportunity, there is a possibility. But, and then sometimes people do have to take that initiative and try to find out, how do I register to vote? You can call one of your representatives, or if you can
see what's happening now with the COVID-19, the representatives are not in the office. I've called Costa's office. You get a message. Nobody's in the office.
Well, I think,
and you don't get a call back.
We can go online and we can get the information that way.
Yeah.
And like I said, most of our young people do have a cell phone, and it's very easy for them to go on their cell phone and register.
And they need to know that they can go register. They can do it on their cell phone.
And that's what we're going to have to do. We have to get out there and we have to get the word out to the public, because if they're not aware of it, then we need to take that initiative and make sure that they know.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we have to do it before the deadline because we don't want them to miss that opportunity.
And the deadline to register again is what, October? Is it October
19th?
October 19th. So your information has to be at the county by October 19th.
Correct.
Okay. And then they'll be able to vote in the November election. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, when they go to the polls, take ID with you, because if you don't do a mail-in ballot, because you're a newly registered voter, your name may not be in the box. And if your name is not in the box, you can still vote. They have what they call provisional ballots. provisional ballot. You fill out the information. It goes down to the county, and it may not be counted that night, but within a couple of days, someone will check it out and verify that you are registered, and your vote will count.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, that's real good to know. And I hope we do have a good turnout this year. A lot of people, I think, are trying to sign up and trying to find out how they can get registered and how they can, as Denise said, as Ms. Hood said, how can they work the polls? A lot of people would be interested in doing that. So we need to get that information out to people also. And particularly the seniors need help, particularly if they're not going to have the polling place at the senior citizen sites like they normally do. The seniors are going to need help getting to the polling places to vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe we can get to the senior high rises and try to get the information or have a computer there and let them go online and order their ballot so that the ballot can come to them, and that way they'll be able to send it back in.
Okay, that's a good idea too. Yeah. So, Keena, back to your organization. Do you have a lot of people out in the field registering people, or are you the only one?
We have, so we are the state anchor. So basically we have recruited the 23 partner sites to get out the vote. We, as the anchor, provide training and resources for them to, for our sites to get out the word for voting.
Okay.
Yeah, so we, like I said, we will be doing a National Voter Registration Day event, but we actually aren't the ones on the ground doing it.
Oh,
we
I see. You're helping organize.
Yeah.
May I interrupt? We have Mike from Point Breeze who would like to make a comment.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Mike. You're on the air. What's your question or comment?
Yes, my name is Mike, and just want to say I'm enjoying the information. However, I do have a question and a comment.
Okay.
One, watched the Democratic National Convention, and I speak to a lot of young people not enthused about the candidates, and quite a few of them said they didn't think they were going to vote, and they were, young African American, and they didn't feel that the policies, nothing they felt strongly about was addressed. No specific tangible benefits, and a lot of people are very upset with the direction. What would you tell a young person who they watched it, they didn't feel any of their issues were addressed, it was just Trump out of it? What issues would you say that I tell them? Because I tried to give a few, but they weren't enthused. They felt nothing tangible. They wanted to talk about reparations. They wanted other things. They wanted cops to be prosecuted for killing young African Americans, and nothing was being done, and nothing tangible was brought up during that whole convention. So a lot of people are very upset, very disappointed about Harris and also Biden. They don't think their needs are being met or addressed. What can you do to try to persuade someone to vote? What things are on the line in your opinion? Can you give some information on that?
Okay, thank you very much,
Hello,
Mike.
Gary?
Yes, we hear you, and thank you for that comment and your question. Keena, do you want to address that, or?
I would just say that I would just encourage the person to try to, just so they can get the vote out, find somebody who is most aligned to their beliefs. And there are 2 other candidates that will be on the ballot as well. So if they don't like, what they see, that they do have those other 2 candidates so they can research and look up as well.
Okay.
And
My
go
comment
ahead.
on that would be that you have people.
Anyone is addressing that.
Beg your pardon?
Hello?
Yes.
They feel that none of the candidates are addressing any of those issues, and they feel that they're not going to vote, and they encourage other people not to vote because no one is addressing these issues. You know,
That's not the answer. The answer is we have to vote. If we give up our power of the vote, we are not putting people in office that can make a difference, and then we have to. Once we vote for these people, it's not over. Now we have to go to them and say, look, we voted for you. We need you to back us and start doing the things that we need you to do. So it's not just over once you press your ballot. You press that button and you walk out of the poll. Now you have to hold them accountable. You voted for them. You put them in office. They are working for you now. So now you have to make sure that you hold them to whatever standards that you expect them to be. And if they're really not sure that anybody is doing what they want to do, they have the opportunity to run for one of those offices so they can get in there and make the changes that they feel need to be made.
And also, according, like with the police departments, the people who run for the national office, like the president, don't tell Duquesne or McKeesport who to hire. Their borough council does that. So the community that you live in, you can go to those council meetings and demand, because you vote for those people also. So the community can go to the council meetings and say, look, we want policemen that look like me. So, they have to learn how, and we have to work with the older ones. We have to work with the youth to teach them how to advocate for themselves.
And we have to get these young people to go out and learn how to be the policeman. If you feel the policemen are not working for us, go out, get the education you need, go into the program, become what you feel needs to be the changes in our communities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But we have to help them do that.
However, I think what also needs to happen, it just can't be every 4 years. I think instead of trying to get people the year of the election, it needs to be a steady progress of putting issues together and taking it to any party. This is what we want. Will you do it or we're not coming out? Is this 50 years voting for one party and it's done nothing. Nothing at all. You look at the things that's happening now, what's happening 50 years.
But they have to understand. They have to understand that not voting.
And shop yourself. We're taken for granted by both parties, and it is not effective. And until we come up with a strategy, we're not aligned to any party. You have to earn our vote. Other than that, the turnout is going to be low because nobody is doing anything tangible for these young people out here. They see the madness that's going on, not just these past 4 years, but the 8 before that and the 8 before that. So until these issues are addressed, the voting turnout will be low. It can't just be every 4 years. It has to be a steady, and it can't be you just one party. You come up with an agenda and shop.
You're absolutely right, but somebody is running for office every year. There's election every year, and there's local elections. I said somebody runs for office every year. Election is every year, not every 4 years. So it's the local, the teenagers, the youth, the community that you live in. You vote every year for somebody to sit on council, for somebody to be your mayor.
Right.
So
major one is every 4 years. It needs to be a steady plan of action. The major push is every 4 years. Yes, there's elections every year, but the real get out the vote is every 4 years. It has to be a steady push because they see the madness that's going on. They see the political games that these parties are playing. They see the madness. The system is failing these people as it has failed for years. It's just a political game. The young people are on to it, and they're really fed up with it. and that's why you see all the protests and everything going on in the street now. They're not happy with what's going on. It's a disaster. Both parties are absolutely disgusting. Terrible candidates on both. And, until that change, it'll be a madhouse because we're focusing on it's just two parties. It needs to be an agenda, and that's what you focus on, not the two parties that are all about the money. It's the same thing. Biden's been there 40 years. Trump has been there 4 years. They're both the same. They're both garbage. The policies they're pushing are unacceptable to these young people. And until that changes, the voting turnout for young people will remain low and will continue to decrease. But I thank you for your call. Great information. But
Wait,
a lot
Mike,
of things need to change.
Mike, I want to ask you a question. You gave us some very good points, but what do you think that we or everyone could do to make this change? What should we be doing as a community?
The system as a whole needs to be changed. Destroy
Now,
the system.
how do we go about making the change? How do we make the changes?
We might need to just remove ourselves from the system, and just really disrupt the political game they play. The Democrats get the House and the Senate, and then it's just back and forth. No one's really working for the company, for the citizens. They're all working for, which business is giving them money. I mean, it's a joke. And our young people are savvy enough to see that this political game is just a game. It's not about helping people. Even the second stimulus check, it should have come out a long time ago. But because of the political games they play, nothing's getting done. So I think we need to just work on destroying the system as a whole, until the people are actually running it, not doggone corporations. A lot of people are angry, and they're not satisfied with either party. They're not satisfied with anything going on in Congress, and I think a lot of bad times are coming. No more wins. I think the young people are fed up, and the system as a whole needs to be destroyed. And until something happens, it's going to be the same thing. But I think it's going to get a lot worse. I think that it's going to be worse no matter who. It's going to be that I believe, because I think the young people are tired, and regardless who wins, it's going to be a lot of until we really focus on the whole system, not playing this little two-party system. Everybody's frustrated.
And I think we have to be the change. We have to find out a way to make these changes. We got to build a strong foundation, and it's going to take each and every one of us as citizens of the United States. We have rights, and we need to work together to make sure these changes take place.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for calling, Mike. And I hope it's not. I know there are some young people that are dissatisfied with the system and with the two-party system, but not voting is not solving the problem.
Not the answer.
Yeah.
No, that's not the answer. The answer then, why don't they come together and form a youth party? They can run like Pat, like you said, they can run, learn how the system works and work the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, instead of
we just can't give up. We can't just say, well, they're not going to do anything, because then we have defeated ourselves.
Right, because they still make rules and regulations and laws that we have to abide by, whether we vote or not.
Right.
So
we should be part of that decision. And if we want our voices to be heard, we have to vote.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I hope that the youth are coming out to vote. I know they're discouraged. They're not the only ones. I think the elderly people, especially our seniors, are discouraged because they've worked to help build this country, and a lot of them now are living hand to mouth because because the system is not taking care of them like they should, but they still vote.
Now we're getting into the last 5 minutes of our program, so we need to make sure everybody knows that the registration dates. The last day to register is October 19th. The last day to request a mail-in ballot is October 27th. And on September 22nd is National Registration Day. So
Okay.
there's going to be information out there.
Okay, can you hold that thought, Pat? Lana, we have a call from Penn Hills, Atlanta. From Penn Hills, you're on the air.
Hi, I'd like to say I think this is a great program. I think that Mr. Palmer was right on point. I know young and old people are very frustrated. You'll see the young people and some older people protesting just like the younger people. Well, John Lewis was of that age as well. And as we know, it should not be a two-party system or any other. It should be one system for the people. For the people. And what I try to tell people, young and old, who don't want to vote, because it's not only the young people who don't want to vote. I do know people my age who do not want to vote, and I'm in my 60s. And they say, I don't believe in the system. I'm sick of it. And my thing is, okay, so now what do we do? As Pat said, what do we do?
Right.
The only thing I can think of doing is teaching people about the law and encouraging our young people to become more interested in the law, because laws have to change. Laws have to change.
Yes, you do.
And the young people are looking at it and they think we've been complacent. If they look throughout the history, Black people, poor people have always protested this system. But it is run by corporations. There's going to be a lot of sacrifices. People want to abandon the system, but where do they go? No one's going to give up land and say, you don't have to pay taxes on it here, live there, and start your own community. It's not going to happen. So I'm thinking, unless you have another place to go outside of America, you have to change it within. We have to, if you don't want to start a new organization, why reinvent the wheel? There's organizations such as National Council of Negro Women, such as NAACP, such as BPEP, who will become a lawyer and change laws and become active.
Exactly.
And you can change it, hopefully. And it's going to take a long time because this machine is old and it is run. But what other alternative is it? You can't just sit back and say, I'm not going to vote. Then what are you going to do?
Right.
We all want reparations. Get on the committee. Be held accountable. There's a lady, Ariel's Law. She has, go to her website, Ariel's Law, CARIOL Law. She was a Black police officer who stopped a white police officer from beating up an older Black man. She was fired. This is 2006, 2008, and will not get her pension. He went on to become, I'm trying to hurry up. He was promoted. He ended up fighting 2 other officers. He's in jail, but promised to get his pension when he gets out. But she has a whole program. They asked her, would you want to become a police officer? She said, no, but I would want to become a police commissioner to change the system. So there's programs and people out here who are trying to change it. Get involved with them young people. They're with you and behind you.
Thank you. We're getting down to the last 2 minutes of the program, so we need to really have some final words.
Go ahead, Pat. You want to wrap up?
No.
Okay.
Tina, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I just thank you all for allowing me to come on tonight. This was a really great, informative, eye-opening show for me to be a part of. And I just want to say that if you're not yet registered to vote, we encourage you to do so. To educate yourself as much as you can with the process, with laws. Voting provides you with an opportunity to be a part of selecting your next local, state, and federal officials. So it is super important to get out there to vote.
Okay.
So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kina. And Pat, thank you for assisting us with the show this evening. And I want to thank all the callers that called in with their comments. And lastly, I just want to encourage everybody to vote. If you're not registered to vote, get registered to vote. Your registration deadline again is October the 19th. So your vote does count. So get out and vote. And thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.